Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beard Zone Sports Talk. My name is David. I got Scooter. I got Carlos with me tonight. And, fellas, man, first of all, I know it's just a Hall of Fame game. It's really, but look, man, all it is it marks that the football season is right upon us, and that makes me so happy. I think that this is the first, or this is like the first Thursday up until like next February now that we will not have a football game, and that's very exciting. So football season is right upon us, and with that being said, gentlemen, some guys have gotten paid. Some of these teams have just said, you know what, you're our guy. We're going to build around you, and we're going to pay you right now. And some of those guys, we got two quarterbacks that got the bag this week, and I want to talk about them. That's Tua down in Miami, and then you got Jordan Love secure in the bag there in Green Bay. And how do you let's start down south. Let's go with the Miami guy here, because I want to know what Carlos thinks about Tua getting paid.
Well, I'm not a fan of any quarterback getting $50 million a year. But I mean, it's just the reality of football right now. Like these, special the skill players are just getting. I mean, honestly, everybody's getting huge contracts. So, I mean, he is one of the better quarterbacks out there. He's good if he has Mike McDaniel for a long term. He's going to put up some big numbers. He's got Tyreek. He's got Waddle. They're both sewed up for a few years, and man, that Mike McDaniel scheme is just it could be more of a quarterback friendly offense for him. So, I mean, it is what it is, and I'm sure at some point he'll get it restructured where they need to free up cap space. But that's just the quarterback situation right now. They're getting paid.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, though, we watched Jordan Love get paid and Tua, and I honestly think 50 million for the quarterback position is probably where it should cap out at. But it's based on the popularity of the sport and what we've seen over the course of time. Is football has exploded in the market globally, and what we're seeing is these contracts are reflecting that. Right? It's not just market. It's not just endorsements. We're seeing raw contracts correlated to the popularity of the sport. Now, Tua, with that type of money, better win a damn Super Bowl. I'm just going to throw that out there now. If you're getting paid top dollar, you're expected to pay or to play at the top level of your like 0.01%, right, of athletes to play football. So if he can't win a Super Bowl or at least get them to the Super Bowl with that amount of money, is it wasted? Depending on their run and everything else. Mike McDaniel's an excellent head coach, no doubt about it. But 50 million for Tua when the dude's probably one bounce off the ground away from quitting football, I have no idea.
No, you're right. Like if you're spending that much money and these guys are investing like that 50 plus, I mean, the Baker Mayfield signing looks like the steal of the century to get that guy sewed up for 35.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, and it's not going to stop. We're going to get a 60 million guy, but yeah, if you're signing somebody for that much money, it has to be, I would think, for a Super Bowl. But if you look at so many guys now are in that $50 million range, it was just one at one point, and now we have it looks like around like 8 or 9, and then we got a bunch of 40 million guys out, $40 million guys. Like they're all not going to win. It's just, man, it's a lot of money to. I mean, but it's money you have to invest. Unfortunately, for these teams, if you got, guy thinks he can win you a Super Bowl, you got to give it a chance. But we'll see. Being a Dolphin fan, I hope they win a Super Bowl. It's you know what I'll settle for a playoff win.
Yeah.
Desperate. They're desperate down there in Miami.
One step at a time.
Let's just before we get to the Super Bowl, we have to actually win a playoff game. So
yes.
Well, speaking of that, what about Jordan Love? Like the dude played one.
He got the playoff win though that Carlos was hoping for with Tua. I mean,
isn't that? I mean, if you go back to Packer history, that's their MO. You get a guy out of college, you pay him whatever the rookie salary is at the time. He sits for 3 or 4 years, comes out, bam, kills it, and then he gets this big deal, multi-million-dollar deal, and it's just like, man, that it is a lot to give to a guy for one season. I understand he had a really good season, but man, that's a
I want
lot
to
of
correct you on that really quick,
trust.
Carlos. He had a really good back half of the season because the first half was not pretty for him at all. Now
It
I
was a
get
little
it.
suspect.
He
Yeah.
got into the groove of everything. They went into Dallas. They had that big win. They definitely competed against the 49ers there in the divisional round in, San Francisco, which is not an easy place to do. And it's just like, for me, it was kind of weird to see him signing because, like, I heard his name be floated around, but it's just like, are they really going to sign him now? Like, just after 1 year? But I forget that the guy's been sitting for 3 years. Like he's not
Yeah.
new to the league by any means. And looking at all of his play style and everything like that, dude, he's almost a spitting image of how Rodgers was. Expect like with his cadences, with the way that he throws the ball and everything else like that. Like but that's what they do in Green Bay. They draft, they have him sit, and then they kind of let the the veteran go about wherever he wants to go, and then they bring in the new guy. And I mean, if the history shows that they'll win a Super Bowl with Jordan Love, because they got one out of Brett Favre, they got one out of Aaron Rodgers. So I mean, can they make it the three-peat with Jordan Love now? But I mean, dude, the guy got $55 million, highest paid quarterback, highest paid player. That's insane.
Is there a team that if you had to hey, if there's a team I trust with quarterback instincts, it's the Packers, man.
It is.
If they sign the guy, you know what, they know something we don't know. They either got some medieval seer that can see the future or something. But if there's an organization that just doesn't miss on quarterbacks over the recent years, man, it's them.
No.
Well,
he doesn't. Or they don't.
I think that Packers historically just invest well in their players. Have we seen, now we can't go back past the 50s probably, but if you think about it, the Packers organization has been a winning organization regardless of who they're playing. You can count them into the game. And Jordan Love, I don't think he deserves that amount of money because of his output. But if we're going based on potential and what we saw in the back half, like Dave was saying, the back half of the season, I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't think he better. To me, you have to have significant wins and a track record to garner that much money. Yes, he has a playoff win. Yes, he played very well in the second half of the season. He has a lot of momentum going into this one. But, each season is incredibly different, right? We can watch sophomore slumps. We can watch, like with Cam Newton balling out and going 15-1 and then dropping the ball in the Super Bowl, right? And then how many players have we seen get the bag and then play like trash? Or they get injured and they can't return, or they're not the same. Jordan Love hasn't really had the opportunity to have that on-field hardened, backbone, right? He hasn't played the amount of downs as Tua. He hasn't played the amount of downs as Dak Prescott or, the other guys. So, yeah, contract makes sense in a potential standpoint, like what he has for the future. But in current output, man, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think he's 50 mil.
Well, to kind of jump off the idea with what Carlos said, the Packers do have a history of picking quarterbacks and picking the right ones. And, yes, we've only seen a season out of him, but the Packers have seen him for the last 4 years. He's been in the building. They've been able to see, him in the meetings. They've been able to see the team, how he leads the team. Granted, last year was kind of like his moment, right? But he seized it, and the team seemed to rally around him, and they're nice and young. It's not like you really have a lot of veteran, guys there. I mean, you do, but they're not like at the end of their run. Packers overall are a pretty young team, So, I mean, they see something. And, I go back. I was watching the Pat McAfee show, at the time. where it was the quarterback class for Jordan Love. And he was talked about by, I believe it was Jordan Palmer, and he has like this quarterback camp that he runs. And he mentioned something on the McAfee show, and he said, "There's one quarterback that I'm keeping an eye on, and it's Jordan Love, because he's showing a lot of good stuff, and he's showing that he can play on Sundays." And so that kind of like just randomly popped into my head as we were sitting here talking about the Packers. And I mean, you got to trust him at this point, right? I mean, like, no one questioned Bill Belichick and the decisions that he made with some of the players that he allowed to walk during their dynasty run. And they were still able to win. I mean, you just have to trust the Packers when it comes to quarterbacks. And, at the end of the day, they're probably making the good move. And, hell, we might see 5-6 years from now, we look back and we were like, man, do you remember when the Packers got Jordan Love for like a steal? I mean, because who knows where these contracts are going to be at? Which actually kind of brings me, before we get into some of the other contracts, there's been this talk, because there's these, especially quarterbacks, right? They just keep going up. Carlos, you mentioned it. We could see a $60 million a year quarterback, and it might be Dak, right? Like, I mean, like, he's the next quarterback to get paid. It might be him, I mean, depending on what happens there in Dallas this year. But do we get to a point where the NFL has to go, okay, here's the salary cap for your team, and then here's the salary cap for your quarterback? Like, do you think that maybe that's what we're going to have to see in order for, because at some point, right, I mean, we can't just only pay the quarterback and have nothing around them. You have to have something around them, and now every position is getting paid. I mean, Justin Jefferson, number one wide receiver in the league, $35 million a year. We're going to touch on him. CeeDee Lamb, he just got paid. I think he's at 33 a year, if you break it down, I want to say. So, I mean, like, top guys, they're in the mid-30s at wide receivers. I mean, running backs really aren't getting, a lot of love, but I mean, that's just the running backs. But I mean, like, offensive line, Trent Williams currently holding out with the San Francisco 49ers. There's talks that Tristan Wirfs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are close to a contract extension, possibly might be happening sometime this week. I know that they were miles apart, according to the media, a couple of days ago at the beginning of this week, but now I feel like that they're getting closer. I guess that's the buzz around the organization. But I mean, like, what kind of money are we going to see those guys get paid, right? I mean, you have to be able to build a team around these quarterbacks. And if you're dumping all of your money into the quarterback position, there's going to be not a whole lot of bread to spread the love. So not necessarily should we, but do you see us going to NFL where they have two separate caps, and one is for the quarterback and the rest is for the team?
No, I don't think that happens. What you're going to have to see is the teams get really good at drafting and getting these rookie contracts, kind of paying your big guys, and then pray to God your draft picks work out, man. Like, it's just a reality. It didn't used to be that way, but you really need, like, your first, second, third rounder. You really need those guys to step up right away.
I mean, when you look at the NFL, right, you have, the pie chart of income, right? You got about 66% in TV, national TV media sales. That is significant in revenue, right? And if we watch our economy and things increase in price, regardless if there's inflation or not, the guys are going to get paid more, the cap is going to go up, and everything will be relative to the time and era, right? Ticket sales are 17%. That's mostly to kind of overhead of the running of those franchises. You got team sponsors, you got concessions, about 10 and 6% respectively. Concessions mostly run, probably a little extra in this, owner's pocket. Team sponsors, I mean, that's Nike and Adidas and all the other, ones. So keep in mind, though, when you look at the revenue stream in the NFL, if the TV deals are still there and it is still as popular it is today, if not more, with the decline in viewership of the MLB and, the loyalty of the fan base to purchase say Red Zone or Sunday Ticket, or to switch providers to watch these games specifically for their team, if people move, then the price goes up even more. Like, I'm not in Florida and I'm still trying to watch the Bucks. I mean, I love them even if they suck, but I'm still going to try and watch my team. Like, Dave, you understand, Dave, we're like still one of the most losingest franchises in history. So I understand.
Listen, man, I have a short memory. You know that, bro. I just remember last few years, So, I mean, we're going for the 4th South Division title in a row right now.
Yeah, unless the TV national media percentage goes down and they got to adjust like ticket prices. I know, I can't remember when it was. But there was, I think it was 2015 to 2017 or 18, that there were ticket prices just kind of skyrocketed. It's like, I'm not paying that much money for nosebleeds, man. Like, if I'm paying, $500 to get 2 seats, and then on top of that, I'm going to spend another $300 or whatever on food and beer and whatnot. Like, I'm not spending $1,000 to go see, like, the Browns and Bucks. I might pay that for a better game,
especially in September.
Oh my god, you can be melting. You can be melting.
Yeah,
even like Miami. Like, could you imagine like Jacksonville, Miami playing, and it's just like beaten down. And the next thing you know, it's 3 p.m. and it's raining. Like,
yeah,
dude, I'd be still mad.
Or it rained the morning before, or like the night before. And now it's just humid out. Yeah, I mean,
and I know the ticket prices are relative to the type of game and timing of the game itself. So if you look at the way the breakdown is for the NFL money-wise, I think the contracts stay relative to what the NFL is projecting to make, especially with the media and all that stuff. Now, capping the players at position, I think that was talked about either last year or the year before for running backs. I think you have to think about it as a owner, right? If you want to invest more in your quarterback, you're going to put more money there. You want your quarterback to flourish, you're going to give him an O-line and a running back and complementary wide receivers. Unless you're the Jets or, the Bucks during like their really crappy run with Josh Freeman and, I can't even remember the other guy. So like, there you go. You have to invest in your team equally to make sure that things play out. And if you have a good game manager as a quarterback or a coach that understands the flow in the game, you can work with what you have. That's what Belichick and you read any of the, Bill Cowher, dudes like that. Shula understood who he was playing with.
So really quick, with that being said, so the contracts stay where they're at, or the salary cap stays how it is, right, for the whole team. Yeah. And you just have to figure it out. Are we going to see a quarterback that does a Tom Brady where he like takes a pay cut?
Maybe Patrick Mahomes.
So that's done now, right?
Mahomes might done.
That era is over.
He got his. I mean, he's already got $500 million. The other thing that will bring in revenue, that's bringing in a ton of revenue for the NFL is the overseas stuff, because they sell those rights for like Germany, Mexico, England to have us come over and play. So that's just going to keep growing. They keep adding more games. And at some point, whenever they figure out the laws, there will be an NFL overseas. But those countries are paying us to come over. So, I mean, that's just added revenue that keeps growing. But no, your question is no. The NFL, the sports athlete is very greedy in a sense that it's not so much about winning. We talked about the Gilbert Arenas conversation on how he wouldn't give up any money for an NFL ring. He could just go buy one. So the mentality is more of to get paid, which I get. I mean, I 100% get it, but I don't think so. But if there is somebody, I agree with you guys. It could be Mahomes, but the guy's got $500 million. And he's got tons of endorsements, so if he's a guy that can do it, but
doesn't he own part of the Dodgers too, or the Royals? I mean,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
Where's Floyd when you need him? He would know that.
Like, I think it was like the month after he got paid, he was like, "Hey, Royals, let me get a little bit of that."
I'm gonna take 10%. Just don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go on to the other guys who have gotten paid, and that's C.D. Lamb, and then just today, man, like right before we jumped on here, DJ Moore, he got paid as well. So I mean, those two wide receivers, and we're going to be covering wide receivers for our fantasy this coming. We'll be covering it on Thursday. You guys will be seeing it on Friday. But DJ Moore is a guy who I'm kind of watching this year. I kind of like him as maybe a little bit of a sleeper. But I mean, CD Lamb, I mean, the guy's awesome. I mean, he really is. He's definitely one of the best wide receivers in the league. He stays healthy. He's consistent with the numbers. He has a huge volume. And, him and Dak just have a great connection. And so, well deserved payday for CD Lamb there in Dallas.
I mean, you throw him the ball, you know he's catching it. I mean,
Yeah.
And keep in mind, though, he is the prime target for Dak. He had 135 receptions, 1,700 yards receiving, and 12 touchdowns. You might need to double check me on that, but the dude is stellar. He's healthy most of the time, if not all the time. And I think, was it one of the Thanksgiving Day games, either last year or the year before, he was double covered almost the entire game and still put up like 150 yards. The dude's insane. He has great elusiveness, and they paid CeeDee Lamb. They still got to pay Dak, and then they still have Micah Parsons still. And we were talking cap space before this. And if you want to pay players, I got you. But there's only so much cap space unless it's just an arbitrary number the NFL decides to make up on a whim. But do you pay? You already paid CeeDee Lamb. You got DJ Moore making around that same money, maybe a little bit less, I think, right, from what we were talking about. DJ Moore hasn't had a legit quarterback, and he's still doing pretty freaking decent. So
yeah,
I think they get it. I mean, he is definitely up there at the top receivers, but they got to figure out that quick because there's nothing left in the cupboard. Every quarterback is signed, but Purdy. I mean, there's nobody else like backups other than Purdy. Every other quarterback in the league is sewed up for a couple of years, so Dak is in the driver's seat when it comes to his contract.
And if I were Dak, I would try and get paid soon because the 49ers could easily win a Super Bowl. And if he tries to wait until next year to get paid, could you imagine if Brock Purdy gets the Super Bowl and then gets paid and it's like maybe like a in between like 50 to 55 a year? I mean, he's kind of capping himself at that then. You know what I mean? Because Jerry's going to look at him and be like, well, I don't got a Super Bowl ring. Here's the question for you. This is probably a dumb question, but do you think that an owner like Jerry Jones, endless supply of money, it seems like, for that guy, you think that there's maybe some like off the books kind of deals that are going on with some of these players to try and keep them to stay in the building?
You know what's wrong with that franchise is Jerry Jones. He's an egotistical, narcissistic guy. They would have won so many Super Bowls if he would have never got rid of Jimmy Johnson. But Jimmy was so much smarter than him when it comes to GM decisions and on football operations. They would have won so many Super Bowls, but he decided I'd rather be in charge and hire Barry Switzer, which Switzer won. But I mean, this could be the coaching staff we're looking at for the Cowboys that year. They were that good. But I think it's more of his ego, and he wants to do it Jerry's way, and he's always done it Jerry's way. If he doesn't like it, he shipped you out. But it's no different than with the Raiders. They had Al Davis. The guy just. There's no reason why the Raiders shouldn't have been successful on the football field. But those are just.
So I can't remember who I was talking to about this. The Jerry Jones actually doesn't do most of the GM and everything else. He's just the owner now. So he's just living off of whatever profits that the team is making. And I think it's his son.
Then who's making that call then?
I think it's his son or son-in-law that's actually running the majority of the Cowboys.
So that's,
and they've been doing a little bit better every single year.
Blood.
And yeah, I think the organization's kind of gotten a little greedy from time to time. But, Super Bowls talk, right? Mahomes is not leaving Kansas City anytime soon.
No.
And I think the Cowboys will probably move on just like they did with Tony Romo. They're like, hey, we can find someone cheaper.
So then where does Dak go?
I don't know. There's
If
nobody
Bryce,
that needs
hold on. If
You know,
Bryce
the
Young
Browns are
doesn't,
the Browns are always in the market for a
the
quarterback.
Browns
So
definitely don't have the cap space for that.
No.
And I don't know how I would feel about a quarterback room that had the likes of Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, and Dak Prescott. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. But if Bryce Young doesn't work out in Carolina, or if Daniel Jones ends up, leaving Carolina, New York, maybe? Could you imagine Dak in New York?
Oh my God, that would be
that'd be hilarious.
insane.
He'd be with us. He'd be with. Saquon left. He'd be with. Someone just went to the Giants, didn't they?
No, nobody. I mean, they
no,
signed some players, but it was just Saquon. I think he gets signed. I don't think Dallas lets him go. I think it's just he'll eventually get signed, and I mean, he's still making $40 million this year. It's not bad. I think he's gonna be all right. He's not like Purdy that's making like $900,000 in California, so he's taking home like $50.
Dude's living in an RV right now.
Yeah,
He is.
driving a Honda Civic, 97 Honda Civic,
and he still got one more year
he's
too.
He's pulling a Chad Ocho right now. He's living at the facility.
He is. He's not even a free agent next year. He's still got a whole nother this year and next year on his rookie deal. So Purdy, he's gonna have to wait a little bit.
I think John Lynch probably signs him before that.
Here's the thing. Okay, so let's jump to the 49ers really quick because there has been some news going around there. There's two players right now that are holding out that have not gotten paid yet. Well, okay, Trent Williams got paid, but he wants more because now he sees what the market is and he's like, okay, I'm better than this guy. So, yeah, which, I mean, fair enough. I mean, you're Trent Williams. I mean, you're arguably the best left tackle that's ever graced a football field. So he's holding out. Brandon Ayuk is holding out. There has been talks that, they might. I mean, but it's been all off season. It has been all off season. And at this point, it's just like, sign Trent Williams, keep that guy to protect Brock Purdy. And as much as it would suck, just let Brandon Ayuk go. Just let him go. Because to me, if I'm an NFL GM, man, it's not worth the headache. It's not worth all this other crap. We have a Super Bowl winning team. If you want to win a Super Bowl, we'll make a deal happen. If not, good luck with the Washington Commanders. That's what I would say.
So is Debo still under contract, or is he coming up next year?
No, he's got a couple years. He signed last year.
Yeah.
So then I guess it is up to Ayuk. I mean, do you hold out? I mean, is Ayuk? I know he's not top 5. I don't know how I could consciously say he's a top 5 wide receiver. Would you put him in the top 10?
Yeah, he's top 10.
I think he's top 10. It's hard. It's hard to say that though. It's hard to say he's top 10, but I think he's top 10. Like when you look at
okay, so real quick, JJ number 1, right?
Oh yeah.
Then not in any particular order, but you have Justin Jefferson. You have then CeeDee Lamb, right? He's better than Ayuk. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah,
that he's better. Devontae Adams. Okay. You have AJ Brown.
Healthy, yeah.
Yep. Okay. You have Jamar Chase.
Yep. Tyreek Hill.
So
we're already outside the top 5.
So we're at number 8. So and now
is he better? Is he better than
Mike
DK Metcalf?
I would say he would be the same. Honestly, I think that he's in that same tier as DK.
Where you have the A+ rating, and then you have like A, and then A-, right? Because like I think outside the top 10 in wide receiving, like it gets real. Like the drop off is pretty steep, right?
Yeah,
the 1,000-yard receivers go like almost plummet after that. So, okay, maybe top 12 really.
So here's how I go about it. If I look at the guy and I go, what team needs a wide receiver? Or what team already has good wide receivers? And if you put them, like if you took Brandon Ayuk and put him with Washington Commanders right now, he would be number 1, right? He would get the bump over Terry.
Well, Terry hasn't had a quarterback, man.
I understand. I'm not trying to say that Terry's not good, but I'm trying to say who's the number 1 guy. If you take him, if you take him and put him with I'm trying to think. What about the Browns? The Cleveland Browns. Who do they got? They got
He's
Amari
not
Cooper.
beating Amari Cooper. You still got Amari Cooper, man.
So
He's
you would
Iron
say
Man.
Amari Cooper over Brandon Ayuk?
Amari Cooper is
Ooh.
underrated, man. He is.
Didn't Jerry Jeudy go to the Browns?
Yeah, he's with the Browns. I think the 49ers have to address Trent Williams first and foremost. Get that guy at least up to the highest paid guy like they did with McCaffrey. You cannot lose that guy in your whole offensive scheme changes. It's amazing how much impact that this guy has on their offense as a left tackle. He can't. I mean, and you're right. Like Ayuk, you just either have to wait it out, or man, we'll trade you to the Carolina Panthers and enjoy that season. So it's just
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I feel like if
Is
the
he on
ball
the
is in the
last year,
49ers. What's that?
Is he on the last year, or is he done?
No, I think this is Ayuk's last year.
Okay, so there is at least this year to potentially come up with something. And holding out, I can't remember. I think I was listening to Pat McAfee last year. If the players hold out during OTAs and preseason, they actually get penalized on top of not getting paid. So, yeah, I understand you're making multi-million dollars each year, but that adds up fast.
I have a theory. After listening to the Brandon Ayuk interview on the Pivot podcast, I truly don't believe he wants to be a 49er. I don't think he does.
He should just play his year out. He's going from $2 million a year to $14 million. It's a nice bump in pay. Ayuk's probably better off just betting on himself like players have done before and go out there and have a season like you've been having, and you'll get paid next year. You'll get your 28 to 30 million a year, and hell, you might even get a Super Bowl out of this. So, I mean, that'll even bump your pay up more, but I think a holding out doesn't help him any. If San Francisco is not going to be able to pay him, I don't foresee them being able to pay him 27 to 29 million a year, because that's what he's going to want, if not 30.
You want to know a crazy take that it might happen? I mean, it's probably not going to happen. It's one of those it's probably not going to happen, but it could. We were just talking about Dak Prescott doesn't stay with the Dallas Cowboys. He might go to New York. Dude, could you imagine if Brandon Ayuk then joins him in New York with Malik Neighbors?
Yeah,
that'd be an interesting combo.
That's a whole new team right there.
It is, but they're cheap up there. After watching the HBO special, the Giants are cheap, man.
Dude, I've been watching that. I've been behind.
It's good.
I've been watching it. I'm like, wow.
They're cheap.
They don't have any value on any of their players.
They love Malik Neighbors.
They do love Malik Neighbors, but he's cheap right now. So, I mean, let's see after a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to recover from overpaying Daniel Jones for being the most mediocre draft pick ever. So, there you go.
Making $40 million.
Think about that. You're Daniel Jones.
It's like Russell Wilson getting dumped.
That's wild. That's wild. That's the NFL. That is the NFL, and that's why we love it. But the NFL is right around the corner, boys. Thursday. You guys are listening to this on Wednesday, so tomorrow, we got football. I know it's the Hall of Fame game, but we went through the desert. We are at the promised land, people. We're right on the verge of it. We're just a couple of weeks away from the NFL officially kicking off, and we're going to be, fantasy drafts are coming up. We're going to be covering, check out our top quarterbacks. We dropped last Friday. This Friday, we're going to have wide receivers. We're going to have running backs for you. It's football. Football is in the air, fellas. We are finally back. Oh, it feels so good to be back. It's the longest off season, and it's horrible.
Let's be real. Let's take a step back. Football happened for everybody on July 16th, 2024. College Football 25 came out, and I haven't left my couch in so long. I'm pretty sure my wife is really pissed off, but she loves me anyways. And I tell you what, I would love to talk to EA about the USF Bulls being a 1.5-star school, and I'm trying to recruit in the state of Florida against UF, Miami, and FSU, and UCF just kicking my butt.
I was the offensive coordinator for Appalachian State. We got to the playoffs. All right,
man.
Listen, it was rough. But we got into the
Oh, my
playoffs. We got
God.
our butts kicked in the playoffs because we shouldn't have been there. And then I got a job offer as an offensive coordinator for Nebraska. Now we have a little bit of okay. Now maybe we can recruit a little bit. But for the love of everything, I don't even know what it would be like for USF. Because App State, I think, was like 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
So like I did get like one or two 4-star guys, but I mean, for the love of everything, man.
Dude, if you're starting with like a lower star school, it's such a struggle, but it's so much fun.
Hard.
It's so fun.
It's so hard.
I lost so many recruits to Miami. I'm so mad, but it's a good time. It's being a make-believe coach and just trying to run a college. It's just fun. And if you haven't bought that game, the pity you. You should go buy it and take some time of your life to do it.
Yes.
I cannot wait to see what the divorce rate increases from July 16th to the end of the year.
I think there was like 20 million people who bought that game. And it was just
it's insane.
Dude, EA just made a lifetime of profits in like
they were
5
really
days.
smart bundling Madden and college this year.
I didn't pay.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for Madden. Hell no. I will die on that
I
hill.
paid for Madden, but I
Of course
pay
you
for
did.
Madden every year. I pay for Madden every year. I just, I don't learn from my mistakes. So
Am I the only guy who doesn't have this game?
Shame
What a
on you,
nerd.
Carlos.
I am a nerd.
Oh man. But check us out. First of all, we appreciate you guys listening to us, following us. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down there below. Go ahead and leave us the comments. Where do you think some of these guys are going to end up? Do you think that Dak is going to get the bag? Do you think Trent Williams is going to get the restructure? What about Brandon Ayuk? Where does he land? Does he stay with 49ers? All of that jazz. How do you feel if you're a Packers fan? If you're a Miami fan, do you like the signings? Do you think it's a waste of money? Tell us how you feel. So we want to hear from you. So but definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for us. That's the best way to help us out on this channel. We're trying to, we're just continuing to see a growth in our subscribers, and it's really cool to see. So, but if you made it this far, you guys are the real MVP. You know how it is. And go ahead and check us out on all of our social medias. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter or X. I always say Twitter, but it's. And I'm not alone on that, right? Like I just say Twitter because it's weird
Still
saying
Twitter.
X. Yeah,
I'm not saying X.
All right, cool. Yeah, so follow us on all of them though. But until Friday.
Thank you, everybody. Beard Zone.